Welcome to Healing Generations, a podcast creating a dialogue uplifting the importance of healing, strengthening, and supporting our communities, and that addresses the disparities and inequities in communities of color. Healing Generations is brought to you by the Healing Generations Institute, a collaborative initiative of the National Compadres Network and the Brotherhood of Elders. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on our new releases.
Welcome, everyone, to our Comadres Healing Generations podcast series. As we are within the holiday season time, we wanted to offer a replay of our HGI podcast archives featuring our beloved sister, our comadre, Shirley Maciel. We hope that it will inspire those of you that may be struggling with feelings of worthlessness, hopelessness, grief, or the battle of drug addiction or alcohol abuse. We pray that these words and wisdom that Shirley offers from her own heart and her own personal experiences will provide you with the strength and inspirational medicine that you may need to keep on going, to not give up, going forward, knowing that healing and recovery are always possible. Primero Dios. Enjoy.
I just want to welcome everyone today to Healing Generations. And this podcast today is sponsored by the National Comadres Network. And we are so grateful that you are joining us today from wherever you're at, whatever part of the world that you're coming and joining us from. We just want to welcome you and thank you. Thank you for choosing to spend time with us. This is Debra Camarillo, the proud daughter of Esteban Leos Camarillo and Anita Figueroa. And I'm coming to you from the Bay Area. And so I just want to welcome you. Comadre, how you doing, comadre? How's it going over there in LA?
Oh, buenos dias, comadre. We're doing good. That sunshine is out today. Grateful to open my eyes and be blessed with another precious day of life and breath, for sure. Also just makes me, in spite of all the challenges that I am faced with every day and the work that we do, it just makes it me feel so blessed, so grateful that at least we have each other. We have our sisterhood, our comadres, our compadres, our familias, our children, our grandparents. So thank you.
I appreciate you bringing that in and reminding us, right, that our prayers constantly have to go out for those that are in need, and also our hearts of gratitude, because in the midst of that, we still have all these blessings, And so just a reminder. So thank you. Thank you for that. And for you, all of you that are listening today to this podcast, I just want you to take a moment right now, and I want you to count your blessings. Maybe you don't have a home, but you have food. Maybe you're out there and you have a home and maybe going through some difficult times of transition of loved ones, or, maybe, some challenges with your children or even with yourself, your health, or, anything that's going on. In the midst of all that, though, we do have blessings. And so look and make that count, right? What are those blessings? What are those things that we can be grateful for, even in those tough times? And today, as we go into our podcast, I can guarantee you that you will hear words today that are going to be a blessing to you. They're going to feed your spirit. They're going to feed your soul. And they're going to encourage you. And you'll be able to identify. And there's going to be remembering in the conversation today. And so I want you to join us, to give yourself permission to let those things around you go and give this time for yourself, the time of healing for yourself, so that after this hour is done, you'll feel a little bit better, a little bit lighter, a little more healed. And so I'm excited. Comadre, with our guest today. And let's get on with the show here today. And I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce our guest today, this powerful mujer.
Oh, yeah, powerful. It doesn't even describe it all. She's our dear comadre. Her name is Shirley Maciel. Not only just a comadre, just a tremendous support to so many in the community, to us, each of us. Such an inspiration. She's the proud daughter of Henry Rivera Jr. and Irene Medina. She is of Mexican and Puerto Rican descent. She considers herself a Mexa-Rican. Órale. She works at the Latino Commission as the Director of Women's Services. The Latino Commission is a residential and outpatient substance use treatment program. She is so proud to say that she is also an alumni of Camarillo. She has accomplished over 18 years of being clean and sober. Congratulations, comadre.
Wow.
Shirley. Wow, what an accomplishment. So inspiring. She's also a proud grandmother, a mother, an hermana, a sister, and a good friend to so many. She loves sitting by the ocean and just watching the waves, whale watching, driving along the coast, and being a grandma to all of her grandkids. She loves the work that she does because she gets to help so many beautiful women get their lives back and on track and get reunited with their children and their familias. Her work keeps her humble, and she never forgets where she comes from. She is very honored and privileged to be a part of the amazing agency, the Latino Commission, and to be able to be surrounded by people that she considers her familia. Welcome, Shirley. So excited to have you here with us and to hear your story, your journey, and how you continue to support so many in the community. I want to pass the palabra to you and see if you could be so willing to share a little bit about yourself, your familia, your background, and maybe a little bit about the work that you're connected to at this time.
Thank you, and I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me. A little bit nervous, but anyway. So, like she said, my name is Shirley Maciel, and I am the proud daughter of Henry Rivera Jr. and Irene Medina. Grew up in my mom and dad were together till I was like 12, so there was like a lot of domestic violence, and then they separated. So I mostly grew up in like a single parent home. I have 3 brothers. One is deceased, and all 3 of us ended up being drug addicts and in and out of jails and prison. I remember my mom once saying that at work, her friends would be like, "Oh, my daughter just got married. Oh, my daughter just bought a new house." And my mom's like, "Oh, my daughter just got 2 more years." So she didn't really have anything to be proud about, any of us. And she let us know that too. So I grew up a lot feeling not good enough and always wanting to prove that I was just as good as everybody else. But I started using drugs in high school, the weed and, drinking, partying, stuff like that. And then I got pregnant. I was really smart in school, so I used to get straight A's. So school started getting like boring to me, I guess you could say. So I started cutting a lot, and I started hanging around with the wrong crowd, of course. And the school even tried to get me enrolled in college half a day and do high school the other half, thinking that might keep me more motivated because I guess I was smart, but school was just boring to me. But instead, I got pregnant. So that went out the door. So I got pregnant. I had my son, my oldest son. And then after that, I ended up moving out on my own. And that's when I hooked up with this dude. And, I didn't know that he was on heroin. And one day I don't even remember how I found out, but I remember I had found out and I said, "Let me try some," and he didn't hesitate to give it to me. And I was off and running. It just escalated more and more and more as time went on, in the beginning it was fun, and then it started to be the habit where I had to have it or I was going to be physically sick. So I did everything and anything to get my drug. Things that I said I would never, ever, ever do, I did. So I was out there, had my own apartment. So, I got taken advantage of a lot by people, because I had my own pad. And so it was like a kickback pad, everybody coming over there partying, getting loaded and stuff like that. So anyway, as time went on, doing the drugs. Along comes with the crimes and everything. And I was going in and out of jail and prison. My first husband, we met by selling drugs. That's how I met him. And we hooked up together and had 2 sons. And then he ended up getting stabbed to death. He got jumped and got stabbed to death. And as I was in jail doing my time, I met my then second husband to be in jail. So these were the kind of men that I guess I was attracted to, was, convict men that, we were more running partners than physically healthy husband and wife, whatever. Anyway, so just running around like, most people that have been in the drug scene, doing crimes, going in and out of jail, trying to get clean. And so I kept trying to get clean and nothing was working. So one day I was walking by my friend, the agency she worked at in Oakland. It was called Mujeres con Esperanza. And I went in there because I was going to borrow the phone to try to get a free slot on methadone. How sick I was I had went and took a test to see if I had Hep C, because then at that time, they were just starting this new program to help people get on Suboxone. And this was like a new drug coming out that was something like methadone that would help you. And so I went and I did this test and everything. And then when the results came back, and I used to go to needle exchange in Oakland. They have this needle exchange program that we'd go to. And they also was an abscess place, where they cleaned up your abscesses and stuff. And anyway, the guy goes, "Hey, I got good news for you. You tested negative." And me, instead of being happy that I tested negative for Hep C, I was like, dang, now I don't get to get on that program because you had to have Hep C to get on that program. So that's all I was thinking about, was not having to be sick. I wasn't even tripping about having Hep C or anything like that. That did not matter to me. Just not being dope sick is what mattered to me. That's how sick I was, and I remember I used to pray. Sometimes I'd be out there praying and I'd be like, God, please take me out of this. And I swear within a couple of days I'd be in jail. So then I started praying, God, please get me out of this, but don't send me to jail. So, yeah. So that's how sick I was when I was out there. But I remember the last prayer that I did while I was out there to God. I was walking down the street and I was like, Lord, if you can't take me out of this, then just take me out, period, because I'm tired. And so that day when I went into my friend's office to use her phone to call the methadone clinic, we just started talking. Because I went to Camarillo once before, a couple of years before that. I was in jail. I don't even remember how I ever heard about Latino Commission at that first time, but I wrote a letter and I got accepted and they picked me up from jail. I think it was all through my friend on the outside. Anyway, and they picked me up from jail and I went to Camarillo and I stayed there for 2 weeks. I remember it was Christmas time and I stayed there for 2 weeks, and then it was like January 2nd, I think it was, I left. So this day that I went into my friend's agency and we were talking, and I was like, damn, I should have never left Camarillo. And another coworker of hers was in there that she worked for Latino Commission. And so she was like, what, you want to go back to program? She goes, let me make a call. So she made a call, and then she comes back. She's like, okay, you got it. They said bring you in tomorrow. And I was like, tomorrow? And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, but I got to do this and I got to do that. And, I got so much to do. Shoot, I was living with my cousin, sleeping on the couch. And, I didn't have no jobs or, my kids were with my mom. So I had no responsibilities. I had really nothing stopping me. But I was trying to think of every reason not to go. Even though I really, really, really wanted it, all I was thinking about was, oh my God, I'm going to be so sick, because I was doing heroin and methadone. I was buying methadone off the streets, calling myself trying to clean up, right? So I'd buy the methadone, drink the methadone, I'd still go, cop and fix. But then bottom line was I didn't want to let my friend down, because she had, went through a lot to try to get me into a program, and she had always been there for me. So the next morning I got in the car and they drove me over here to Casa Maria. Well, actually I went to the main office because the Latino Commission at the time had 6 houses. They had Casa Abuelita, Casa Maria, Casa Viva, those were for the women. And then they had Los Hermanos, Casa Aslan, and Casa Quetzal for the men. And then they had some transitionals. So at first they were going to stick me in Casa Abuelita. And then I was like, but the last time I was here, I was in Casa Maria, right? And it just so happened one of the clients that was at Casa Maria was getting moved to transitional. So the bed was empty. So I ended up going to Casa Maria. Thank God I did, because the next day or a couple of days, because I was dope sick. I didn't get out of bed for 2 weeks. But after I finished kicking, I went to pick up some of the ladies from Casa Abuelita, and it was like way at the top of this big old steep hill. And I said, oh, if they would have brought me here first, I would have left, because there was no way I was going to walk up and down that hill every day. Yeah, so, I think God knew how I was and stuck me back at Casa Maria, thank God. But anyway, I was at Casa Maria and I started working on myself, like I didn't know. Well, I mean, I knew, but I was in denial that I had anger issues and, I had, relationship issues. I had abandonment issues. I had, you name it, I think I had everything, right? But I started working on myself. And eventually, I think all I needed was just a place that I could lay down and detox and kick and not be able to just walk right out the door and cop. So being across the bay, because I'm from the other side of the bay, Hayward, Oakland, and I was over here in Brisbane at Casa Maria, it made it harder for me to leave. And I was so sick that I couldn't leave even if I wanted to. I mean, I was so sick. I stayed in that bed kicking for like 2, maybe 3 weeks. And then it took another month or maybe even longer to even sleep at night. And I remember that. That's what I swear keeps me clean, is because I will never, ever let myself feel that way again. So I always remember how bad it was. And I remember people were saying, like some of the peers would be like, why you don't go get on methadone? I'm like, because it's just another crutch, and I need to just do this. And as long as I do this, I'm going to remember this, and it's going to keep me from going back out. And it has. So anyway, so after I completed the program, I started volunteering for Latino Commission. At that time, we could volunteer and cover the house when the counselors were gone to meetings or trainings and stuff like that. So I started volunteering and trying to give back what was given to me, to my peers and to the clients that were coming in. And most people that get into recovery end up going into substance abuse treatment. I don't know why that is, that we all decide that we're going to be counselors, but I know it has to do with we've got the experience, hands-on experience on what it's like to be out there. And then once we get into treatment and get into recovery, that we give them that hope and inspiration that they could do it too. So anyway, so I started volunteering as an attendant, and then I got hired. And at that time, during that time, they started having this, like a contract with College of San Mateo, where they were going to bring in the AOD classes to the main office, and we would get 1 class a semester. So in the process of that happening, I moved up from an attendant to a counselor. And then I started going to school with the College of San Mateo at the main office, and we would take our classes and stuff. And then I remember my first class, we had to do a mock intake with one of our peers. So I did mine with this guy named Dave, and then he was the driver at the time for TLC. So then we had to call Debra afterwards, because she was the executive director, to get our final grades. And I remember I called her and she was like, oh, I heard you got family in Hawaii. What I didn't, and so I just so happened to have just gotten a postcard from my grandfather from Hawaii. And so I told her, she's like, oh, I got a uncle named Henry Rivera on that island. And I'm like, that's my grandfather. And she's like, no way. And so we started comparing and we realized we were cousins and didn't even know it, So I believe God puts people in your life for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. And out of all the programs that I could have went to, he brought me to Latino Commission, where I found out that Debra was my cousin. And I've been blessed with that because not only is she my cousin, but she's like my role model, my mentor, my friend. I've learned so much from her. And it's a trip that her mom and my dad were close when they were younger on the island. But me and her never met each other. She was down in LA and I was over here. And I think God knew that if he would have put us together back then, we'd have been treacherous. We'd probably still be out there. But he put me in the right place in the right program at the right time. And so through that, I got my AOD certification and, I just kept learning, and everything that I was learning, I would use, with the clients. And eventually I got certified, and then I got promoted up to director. Well, at the time it was a program manager. So I moved up. And so in doing that, I've worked with a lot of women that some of them that were my clients that not clean and sober, they're still in my life today. And I get to see, them continuing to, grow in their recovery. And it's a blessing, and it's very humbling to know that I could be a part of their journey, because it's hard out there and it's getting worse now, this younger generation. I mean, the drugs that are out there, the fentanyl's killing everybody, the meth just got them all losing their minds, and it's just crazy. And I thank God every day that I still have my mind, because I see people out there that I know back in the day and they were solid people, right? And today they don't even know their name, and they're walking out there, just hopeless, and it's just bad. It's just bad. And I thank God that I still got my brain, and that he helped me to get clean before I lost it.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Shirley, for sharing that part, of the journey. And I think it's, so important that we never forget where we come from, right? Because that makes us who we are. And I think one of the things that stood out to me was, you said at the beginning is that you didn't feel like you were anything. Like, you did things to try to, feel like you were somebody.
Uh-huh.
And then, fast forward to now, the amazingness of who you are now and what you do, and you're somebody to so many people, to so many women, And I think that's the beautiful part of recovery, and it's the beautiful part of healing, right? When we engage into this journey of healing and restoration, how that really impacts our lives, and not only our life, right? But those that are around us, because you did mention one thing that, you're on this journey being clean and sober, but your brothers are not.
Right.
And how many of us have family members where our lives have been changed and transformed, but our families are not? And trying to navigate that, right? And what are those things that sustain us and keep us on this journey, while sometimes it could feel so lonely, because we're the only one on the journey. And I'm just wondering if you could share some about that. What sustains you? What keeps you going? Where do you draw your strength from in order to keep going forward and be this inspiration to so many women, actually men and women, that come across your path?
Well, my grandkids have never known me as a drug addict. Some of my older grandkids, I share my story with them sometimes because I want to hopefully prevent them from making some of the same mistakes that I made. But they give me the strength that I need to move on and keep moving forward, because I don't never want to see that look on their face, of me being back out there getting loaded or not being around for them. And then my clients, seeing them grow and change and get their lives back together, that keeps me going. Even the ones that give me a hard time, or the ones that don't make it, because the ones that don't make it, I always tell my clients, there might be 5 of them sitting there and only one of them is going to really make it. And it's sad, but I watch them and I watch them grow, and I hear them start using things that, I've helped teach them, or, other staff members have helped them with, and I just see the change in them, and it's beautiful. I see my clients getting their kids back. I remember there was a time when CPS was in my life, and I lost my kids, and I had to go through a program and get clean to get them back, which I did. But then I ended up going back out, so I just share my experiences with them, and just hope that they hear something that's going to click and really, really make them want it. I think we've got more success stories than failures in the houses as I watch my clients, like I say, I've got some of them that are staff members now, or, I've worked with, and they were at one time my clients. And they always like, oh, Shirley, thank you. You saved my life. And it's like, no, you saved your life. I just helped put the knowledge into you so that you can continue to move forward. But they did that on their own. If you would have known me years ago, this is never where I thought I would be. At the time, I was a hope to die dope fiend. And that's how I thought my life was going to end up. That's how I thought I was going to die, was, as a drug addict. And today, here I sit, the director, and I'm, overseeing other staff members. And, I go to these meetings with these people that have, got college degrees and all these letters behind their name. And in the beginning, I used to get very fearful of that because, I was like, oh, I'm not that smart. And they're going to be able to tell that I haven't been to college and I don't talk like them and this and that. But as I've been going to these meetings and interacting with all these different people, I've got just as much, if not more knowledge than a lot of them, and I've taught them a lot of different things just from the experiences that I've had out on the streets, and then going to school and stuff, and I'm always going to trainings, and, I just want to always remain teachable and continue to learn. So yeah, that's about what that keeps me motivated to continue to move forward.
Wow. What a journey. It's with all the pain and the challenges and obstacles and abuse that you've had to endure, it's so understandable why you would choose to use in order to cope, in order to just detach from all that pain, emotionally, physically, in every realm, really. It's amazing that you were able to pull through that. You talked in the beginning about unworthiness and how your mom didn't really have anything to celebrate except, 2 more years in prison. I can't even imagine what that did to your spirit to know that. I'm sure with your own internal dialogue and self-talk, you could make yourself feel like that on your own. You don't need any outside help. Yeah. And I'm sure the tapes were 24/7. So I can understand how you would want to utilize that in order to just shut it off, just to have some peace, as crazy as that may sound. And I know personally, in a lot of my dark times, it was very hard for me to try to connect and be able to see my own light to know that there was light in me, the spirit of creator in me, my ancestor DNA in me, because, when we're in pain, pain makes us be very present, and it just it's consuming. It's consuming. It's hard to see anything else, to feel anything else. I know I spent a lot of time trying to avoid being in my heart, being present, just staying in my mind so that I wouldn't have to feel. And that was a coping mechanism for me. When we talk about being the element of water and flowing and keeping our water pure and, trying to heal each and every day to remove blockages in our spirit and keep our water flowing. There was a time when I became so frozen and so detached, it would take me... My coping mechanism, as silly as it sounds, was carrying bottles of habanero chili in my purse. And when I felt like I'm getting way too far detached, like I don't even feel like I'm alive anymore, like I'm so frozen, my water is so frozen, I would take shots of that habanero and just get my brain a jump start there, and it would just burn the heck out of me. But I was like, okay, there I am. I'm still in here. At least I know I'm still alive. Because other than that, I just felt gone, totally detached. And I know for me, many times it was someone else that Creator put in my path to help me reflect and remind me that I am light. I come from light. I come from love. And help me to come back and remember that I am sacred, that I am a blessing. Though I was choosing crazy things that tell a lot of people otherwise, but I was very blessed to have, like you talk about, Maestra Deb, being that light, being that reflection, and reminding you who you really are, not your wounded self, your true self. I can't even imagine, and I would love someday for you to write a book about all the core teachings and lessons you learned on your journey just from life. And I know they're lessons that are invaluable. I know they're lessons that we would never learn in a classroom. They're just hard-earned life lessons. And it's been so beautiful from what I've witnessed of being connected to you, how you've been able to transform those traumas, transform those wounds into medicina, into medicine, to help others remember who they really are and bring that light to them. I wonder if you could share a few of those core teachings that you've learned that have helped you even in a professional setting as well as personally, to share with others to help them to get back in alignment with their sacredness and their sacred purpose.
I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but, I grew up, like my mom's single parent, whatever. But we didn't really have like all the culture, the teachings. And I've learned a lot, like being around you and Debra, about, how to heal and how to, like the drumming and the burning of the sage and meditating and all those things. And so, those helped me a lot. And it makes me want more. I want to keep learning about all these different types of these, different healings and the way that you guys live your life and go by the teachings and stuff. I want to be like a grandma, teaches, abuelita. We learned so much from our grandparents. Well, I didn't have that, my grandparents was, it was church a lot. So both my grandfathers were Pentecostal ministers, so I want to be that one to get all these teachings that I'm learning and pass them on down to my grandkids, So, some of the teachings that I've gotten to pass on to my family, because like we didn't grow up hearing I love you all the time. So I try to make sure that like with my kids and my grandkids, when we're talking on the phone before we hang up, I say I love you. And at first I remember I started that within our family with my brothers and everything, because like I said, we didn't ever grow up hearing that. And I learned it getting into recovery, is to say, I love you. And so the first times that I started saying it, like to my brothers and to my kids, at first they were like, oh yeah, I love you too, right? And then now it's become part of our routine, our family culture, I guess you would call it, is that we always say, I love you, no matter what, before we hang up a phone call or anything. I learned drumming. Me and Debra, we were lucky to be in a class for drumming. So I learned drumming. So I have drums that I have at home. And my granddaughter, since she's been a baby, every time she walks in, she goes straight for the drums and she starts pounding on them, right? Well, I sat there with her one time and I was teaching her some rhythms. And then I bought her first drum like 2 years ago for her birthday. And she was so happy. So sometimes we get on FaceTime and we drum together, So I'm trying to learn because, like I said, I didn't grow up with all these teachings and stuff. So as I'm learning them from Debra and from you, and from the other women that I've met, I try to take it back and pass it on to my family and start making it a tradition or I just try to pass it down to my family. I started every Christmas, right before Christmas, we all get together, my kids and grandkids and everything, and we make tamales. We never did that when I was younger. My mom didn't do that with us, but we do now. So we all get together and we make tamales. I try to make sure that I do everything for my grandkids so that they can learn and feel like, they grew up with family values and stuff like that I didn't really grow up with. And I try to teach my clients that too, like sometimes they don't understand when I tell them, come on, we all got to sit together at the table because families don't do that anymore, so we're going to sit together like a family. Once you guys walk through the doors of Camarillo or any of the doors of Latino Commission, you are part of the Latino Commission family. And so we're going to be a family unit, and so we eat together and we say a prayer before we eat and bless the food and, bless the cook and all that stuff. So everything that I learn, I'm trying to pass it down,
Thank you. Thank you for that, Shirley. And I guess what I'm hearing is, because there's so many of us and we have listeners that are hearing this message and might find themselves in that ambivalence of wanting to get out of addiction and not knowing how, or wondering if they could possibly get out, because I know sometimes we believe these lies that we don't have a choice and we can't and we won't make it out, and that our destiny is to die, like the saying of once a dolphin, always a dolphin. Mm. And I hear, that journey, that difficult journey that you have been through, the tragedies that the life has led you, and also recognizing that, nobody's born and they're born and they say, well, I just want to be a drug addict. I just want to be an alcoholic. Nobody's born that way. I just want to be, an abuser of whatever kind. Nobody does. But the circumstances of life sometimes, we have these tragedies that happen in our life and traumas that happen in our life. And then we adopt these coping skills that maybe aren't the healthiest, but they do help us survive. And so I think in hearing your story, I think the beauty of it is what has come out on the other end. It's like that phoenix coming out of the ashes. It's like when that coal goes through all that pressure, but then at the end, the diamond appears, or the gold when all the impurities are burnt out and now we have gold. And I hear so many wonderful, wonderful things that at this point, of your life, coming through all that, tragedies of death, tragedies of losing people and family members and friends. But you have come out, and you've come out with gifts, and you've come out with love, and you've come out with compassion, and you've come out to inspire others that are having that journey. And I would ask you, to our listeners out there, what consejos would you offer to a woman that might be struggling, with substance abuse? What would that consejo be? Or for young women out there, what were some of those triggers for you that maybe might led you down that way? But you're saying, I got words for you today. What would some of those words be?
Well, I know for one is not to be a follower, be a leader, because when we're out there and we're doing what we're doing, now as I come into this, I try to tell my clients, like, take advantage of all the services that they have out there for you, because, it will help you to get your life back on track. It's not impossible. Yeah, it's hard. It's very, very hard. It's easy to go back out there and get loaded because that's what we know how to do best. It's hard to stay clean and get clean, and you have to become responsible and all that. But as long as you, could, like I said, be true to yourself and really, really put the work in and know that all those traumas and stuff that have happened in our past, that's not what makes you. It makes you stronger. It's just I've learned little by little different things all along the way. And like I said, I just try to be true to myself and true to others. I don't know, I've just learned to go with my gut. A lot of times I would be like worrying about what other people were going to say or think about, think of me if I did certain things or if I, had my own ideas or whatever the case may be. So I've learned to like follow my gut. And when I make decisions, I try to be a woman of my word. When I say something that I'm going to do, I try to make sure that I do it. I try to be honest in everything that I do, because you can't lie to yourself, and so as long as I'm honest with myself and with others, I think everything, just falls into place. Today, I know how to make good choices and positive, and then I reach out for help. I'm not scared to ask somebody for help or to say, I don't know how to do this. I have this feeling, but I don't know what it is, and I've learned that, like going to the circles and stuff like that, just letting it come out, and just talking about your real feelings and not trying to sugarcoat it or make it sound better than it is, because, it's our feelings. So, yeah, I just, like I said, be honest with myself, always be honest with others. I try to always be humble. Don't forget where I come from. Never, because I'm not promised tomorrow, and anything can happen that can take me right out. I try to make sure that I take care of myself and do a lot of self-care, because if I'm not no good for myself, I'm not going to be good to anybody else. Therapy is a good one. Get into therapy, talk about your stuff. Don't be scared to ask for help. A lot of us think that we have to do it alone because, we're so used to doing things, alone and on our own. So many people have turned their backs on us when we're out there. But, there's so many of us that are here today that they can reach out to and not be scared to ask for help. Build a good support group. You have to give up sometimes family members and stuff that are still out there using, but like I said, I don't forget where I come from, but, I have to step away because I'll be there to help them, but I'm not going to let that be my downfall again and go back to doing, the things that I've done in the past. I always encourage my clients to talk about their feelings, write about it, and I don't go back and read what I wrote, because then I'm going to erase it and try to change what I said. I tell them, just write, even if it doesn't make sense, just get it all out. As long as you get it all out some way, somehow, talk about it, write about it. If you got to cry, whatever. We're all here, to listen and to help so you can get stronger and get on your own 2 feet. It takes time and it takes a lot of work, but it's all worth it in the end, because everything that I've got today, I've worked hard and I've done it and I've accomplished a lot. and with the help of all the people that I let into my life. Instead, I let the walls down. You know, you got to let the walls down and let these people, the people that I got in my life today are in my life today because they truly, honestly love and care about me for who I am, not for what they can get from me. And back in the day, those were, you know, all my acquaintances. They were just around because, you know, yeah, I was the connection. I had the drugs, you know, or I had what they wanted. So that's what kept them around. But take advantage of these people. We're all here. You know, I try to tell my clients, we're all here for you. We've all been there, done that. And I'm not going to tell any of them, not my clients, not my staff, not my grandkids. I won't ask them to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself.
Thank you, Shirley. Wow. You've just blessed us with so much wisdom, so much inspiration, medicina, profound medicine. I'm sure everyone can agree with me. They're an earth angel. They're an angel of light for so many that have lost their way, that have lost hope, that have given up, that need to be reminded that en la quech, or my other me, that need to be reminded of who they really are. Help them remember that they do carry that light, to make them know that they do matter, they are sacred, they are a blessing, and there is hope. There is hope. It's such an inspiration to hear that you want to carry those traditional ways on, your cultura, to your children, to your grandchildren, so that they can keep those traditions alive for many more generations to come. Such a blessing, such a blessing. If I had to wrap it all up, it would just be, Shirley, I love you.
Me too.
I love you. God bless you.
Bless you.
What wonderful, wonderful expressions of hope. And that's really what these words, all these words are about. And you might find yourself right now as a listener, right, with some of these challenges. You know, what I really want you to hear the message today. And the message is a message of hope. This podcast is all about healing generations. And maybe there's some of that generational trauma and pain that needs to be healed. Well, we're here to walk alongside you. At the website, you will find our information. If you go to the National Compadres Network, on the webpage, you will find the Comadres there. And we're here willing to walk with you. But if you don't hear anything else, I want you to know that you are sacred. And there is nothing that you have to do to become sacred. There are not works that you have to do to arrive at a level to become sacred. You are sacred just the way you are. And your traumas do not define you. There are things that have happened to you, but you are not your trauma. You are sacred and a reflection of Creator. And so as we end this podcast today, I would want to invite you and remind you of who you are. And through the words of Shirley and sharing, yes, sometimes our beginnings are rough, but it's the ending that matters. How do we transition out of here? What is the legacy that you and I want to leave? What are those new values that we want to create within ourselves and with our families? And so we leave you on that note and encourage you to go forward. Thank you so much for joining us today. You can like us. You can find us on Facebook and again at the National Compadres Network website. And we're here to walk with you. And we will be praying for you. And we just send you bendiciones. And this is Debra Camarillo leaving you from the Bay Area, wishing you and your family bendiciones. And my comadre,
Susanna, Armijo. Adelante, everyone.
And our guest was Shirley.
Bye. Thank you.
And bendiciones to all of our listeners out there. May you have a wonderful rest of your day.
For more information about Healing Generations and the Healing Generations Institute, visit nationalcompadresnetwork.org And be sure to subscribe to stay up to date with our new releases.